A Little More Than Just People is a project created by the founding 8th grade class at Four Rivers Charter School in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Pairs of students interviewed community cultivators. These individuals hold important roles in their area, both in official and volunteer capacities. They conducted interviews, and through the editing process, created a monologue for each person. These profiles include an overview by the students, a featured quotation, and a portrait taken by a professional photographer.
So they had to learn incredible editing skills. They had to learn like the selection of the most important text. How do you, out of all the things people said, a lot of it wasn't important. So how do you find the parts that are? And then once you found them, how do you organize them into a coherent narrative? And then how do you edit for punctuation, paragraphing, like getting all of that stuff right, and formatting for the book. So they learned all of that. They learned InDesign. They learned interviewing skills. We had a professional interviewer come in and teach them, like model how to do an interview. So they learned that. And so between desktop publishing, the interview skills, and the editing and the writing skills involved in taking a transcript and getting it into a finished monologue, they learned a ton. And then when they were doing the editing and they had to go through and pick, they were working with me and with their classroom teacher, and they were working with each other to read through the first editing of the transcript, and people are saying, well, that's not that interesting, or what about this part, or you left out, or this is great, and so we all kind of worked together to identify and to teach each other what's the best part of this story. So kids interviewed me, and I can ramble sometimes, and I went off on tangents, and then when they were editing mine, they had to get rid of those tangents and just get the part about what made me want to start Four Rivers. Think of any standard you might pick. So in this case, a writing standard might be, writing's organized in a coherent way so that you can make meaning, right? There's a standard around organization in writing. There's a standard around mechanics in writing and conventions. There's a standard around sentence fluency. Well, when you're editing a monologue, oftentimes we don't speak grammatically, so that the kid had to fix sentences that weren't really grammatical. They had to learn to apply all the conventions. They had to learn paragraphing and organization, and all of that stuff it's not like because it's a project, somehow it's separate from standards. Standards, you could take any standard and teach it in the most conventional, book-driven, teacher-centered way, or you can take the exact same standard and design a project that has kids have to learn the things that standard addresses in a really student-centered way. It's not like it's harder to meet the standards this way. It's just a more inventive, and I would argue more creative way to meet the standard. But when you ask kids, like in 8th grade, to do something hard, they'll do it. But we think we think it's too much, or maybe, I don't know if adults have lower expectations of kids when they're not upper level high school, but we had no idea what they would do with it, but they did, and it was a real lesson to me to think, don't shy away from a challenging task.